This little girl did not deserve that, runaway or not, whether she was with this, adult man or not.
The wig conversation seemed paranoid to her. Then, the video came down. It was all in her face. A strategy in motion became the subject of gossip. What more is being suppressed regarding Celeste's passing if fans witnessed this much? David's darkest secret is revealed in new video. Hey, pay attention. We have shocking news that completely changes the plot. Discard all of your preconceived notions about the David case because fresh footage has emerged. Camera that purports to show him removing his deceased girlfriend. Celeste's wig in the midst of what investigators are now referring to as one of the decade's worst celebrity scandals. In addition to simply standing close to the crime scene and being connected by a car, yes, you heard correctly, this isn't conjecture. Fanfiction is not what this is. This is unvarnished, unsettling, and transformative. And here's the thing, the act itself isn't even the most disturbing aspect of this new tape, which you'll see later in the tale. It's what it says about the attitude of a budding star who may be losing the world he once held in his hands. It's not just about a wig here. Power, obsession, treachery, and perhaps something much more sinister are all at play here. The bombshells don't stop, so stay tuned. Let's rewind the tape though. Employees at a Hollywood impound lot uncovered a discovery back in September 2025 that would permanently alter David's career path. When a Tesla was taken in for a normal tow after being abandoned for 5 days, the entire lot was shut down due to the overwhelming stench, and a plastic-wrapped body decayed within. Later identified as Celeste Rivas, a 15-year-old, who had gone missing in April 2024. Take a moment to process that. Celeste disappeared when she was just 13 years old. She was 15 when her remains were discovered. Her body was found in the vehicle that belonged to David Anthony Burke, a promising R&B musician who is more often known as David. The car was the only connection that could be used to fuel a fire. Then came the similar SH ink tattoos on the same finger, which were widely shared on social media and verified by forensic reports. Fans began making connections between his songs, such as Romantic Homicide, uploaded on September 7, 2022, Celeste's 12th birthday. They said there were too many coincidences. There are too many unsettling parallels between her life and his art. The coincidences now appear to be a pattern with the addition of this fresh footage. Let me explain it to you. First of all, this isn't just a rumor. A few weeks prior to her body being discovered, Celeste, or a girl strikingly similar to her, appeared next to David in films, live stream evidence, and concert footage. In a widely shared video from his August 2025 performance in Maryland, a girl with long dark hair, a black tube top, and the best part, her position just next to you. David's own brother is shown standing on the balcony as David gestures toward her with a hat.
New video footage of a girl believed to be Celeste at David's concert in late August has surfaced, and she was also wearing a black tube top at this concert, which is what we know she was wearing when she was found dead in David's trunk based on police reports.
Now, think about that for a second. If that really was Celeste alive in late August, that shatters the whole timeline, because her remains already badly decomposed were discovered on September 8. Decomposition sped up under brutal California heat or something. Even worse happened behind the scene. And if it wasn't Celeste, that opens up another dark possibility that David was surrounding himself with her lookalikes, copying the image of a girl who might have already been dead. Either way, it's disturbing. But let's not stop there. Because remember that wig in this new angle of the footage released by online sleuths and dissected frame by frame? David is seen clutching something as he moves backstage. Freeze frame it, zoom in, and you see what looks like a wig. Long, black, eerily similar to the hair Celeste was described as having when she disappeared. Now, why would he be holding that? Why would he need to take it? Fans and investigators alike are calling it the smoking gun. Proof of either a ritualistic obsession or an attempt to cover something up. Some argue it's symbolic, a trophy. Others believe it's practical, destroying evidence. Either way, the act itself pulls this whole story out of the realm of coincidence and into something far more sinister. And yo, the reaction's explosive on Twitch. Even heavyweights like Ludwig and XQC couldn't ignore the connections. Ludwig asked straight up if Jason Luheen had seen the allegations. Jason tried to defend David at first, but then came the hard evidence. Matching tattoos, obsessive lyrics, pictures of them together, and XQC dropped the bomb.
Detective XQC shocked after realizing that D4vd released Romantic Homicide on the same day as Celeste's 12th birthday, with XQC stating, "There's too many coincidences that line up to the point he believes the rumors."
Too many coincidences? Too much smoke for there not to be fire? Now, pause. Why should you care? Why does this story matter beyond tabloid headlines and social media chaos? Because it's about more than one artist, one crime, or one scandal. It's about the system that allows young fans to be pulled into dangerous relationships with powerful figures. It's about the dark intersection of art and reality, where lyrics about violence suddenly echo real life. And it's about accountability in an industry that too often looks the other way until it's too late. For Celeste's family, this ain't spectacle, it's grief. For the fans who once held David up as the voice of their generation, this is betrayal. And for the music world, it's a wake-up call. How close can art mirror life before it stops being art and becomes confession? Take his breakthrough track, Romantic Homicide. On paper, it's a heartbreak anthem, a moody, lo-fi ballad about betrayal and loss. But look deeper. The upload date, September 7th, 2022. The exact day Celeste turned 12 years old. What looked like coincidence now feels calculated. Too many coincidences, too many parallels. And when you stack that against the body being found in his Tesla, the matching tattoos, the supposed relationship confirmed by her mother, the dots start connecting themselves. But here's the most sinister layer. The deleted streams. Clips have surfaced showing David and Celeste on live streams, nervously telling moderators to wipe the evidence.
Mods, can we delete all VODs? And then as soon as the stream ends, delete the stream too?
What this clip tells me here, as well as all the other pictures that I've seen, is that Celeste had a place to stay, right? Somebody was harboring her. David was around. Clearly, there were people that were harboring her as a runaway.
Consider that, sitting just next to David, a 13-year-old who went missing and was later found dead, proactively requested that her digital trail be removed. According to investigators, this was no accident. It was a deliberate attempt to conceal her whereabouts. Furthermore, David wasn't merely spending time with a fan if, as the commentary implies, he knew she was a runaway. Her family wanted the child he was harboring. That is incriminating in addition to being unsettling. Meanwhile, the consequences were instantaneous. David abruptly canceled on September 17, 2025, the night he was scheduled to perform for a packed Seattle audience. Initially, fans were perplexed until the truth began to surface. The cancellations then became widespread. Los Angeles, San Francisco, and even overseas concerts in Europe were canceled. Refunds were promised in Ticketmaster emails, but none of them could make up for the treachery his fans experienced. It didn't end there, either. His name was removed from view by the Grammy Museum, a venue that would have solidified him as a growing star. Records from Inner Promotion was quietly terminated by his label. Even his first album, Withered, and its deluxe version, was put on indefinite hold. Additionally, he was immediately removed from campaigns by companies including Hollister, Crocs, and others. David was losing more than just gigs. The future was slipping away from him. This is where the emotional blow comes in. After being devastated by her abduction, Celeste's family was now forced to confront the terrible truth of her passing. Her mother revealed that she had been worried about her daughter's boyfriend, David, being involved for a while. She suspected it was her young girl as soon as she heard about the Tesla finding. Consider that, in an artist's lyrics, a mother watches the world question if her daughter's life was really a coincidence. A mother who hosts funerals rather than birthday celebrations. #Justice hashtags for Celeste are trending globally. There is no scandal here. It's tragic. Nevertheless, the internet did what it always does and created ideas about mourning. Just 2 weeks before her body was discovered, on August 23rd or 24th, 2025, Celeste was allegedly observed at a concert in Maryland, according to a widely shared post. A female with the same hair and build was shown in the footage wearing a black tube top. She was standing next to David's brother on the balcony.
The guy she's standing next to is also David's brother, which raises even more questions. Now, the timing here is very important because the concert was about 12 days before David's abandoned Tesla was towed from the Hollywood Hills area near his house.
The time frame is skewed if it was her since, according to specialists, her body had to have been dead for more than 12 days, unless, of course, decomposition was expedited by the heat in California. Some people think that's feasible. Some claim that the sighting was disproved. Even TMZ changed their report to state that it wasn't her. However, that just begs more questions. Why was David hanging out with someone who resembled Celeste if it wasn't her? Why was he gesturing toward the balcony with a half-heart gesture? Supporters describe it as ritual or obsession. It's dark. Anyway, the police, meantime, weren't ignoring this. The LAPD conducted a raid on David's manager's rental house in the Hollywood Hills. On September 18, 2025, for more than 12 hours, detectives searched the area, snatching equipment that might have contained incriminating digital evidence and using luminol to look for blood. Following the raid, David promptly violated the terms of his $2,000 month lease and left the premises. What were they searching for, then? According to sources, police think Celeste might have been staying there as a runaway, missing, and possibly even living with David before her last days. And this wasn't merely carelessness, if that's the case. This may have involved sheltering and harboring a child. Let's zoom out, though. It's not only David here. It has to do with the system, about how abuse may flourish in an industry that is based on youth, fandom, and obsession. A girl just into her teens, an artist just out of his, and a culture that makes every ominous lyric into a prophecy. Celeste was harmed by more than one man. She fell prey to a machine that glorifies strained relationships, poisonous passion, and hazy boundaries. There is more to the wig, that piece of evidence, than just hair. It represents how the distinction between truth and art became blurred, ultimately leading to the loss of a young life. The wig that destroyed his career, the bleeding shirt, and the broken silence. Let's focus on what made this narrative go from strange to horrific. The wig. It was more than just speculation when the fresh backstage shot of David holding what appeared to be Celeste's wig appeared. Even after her passing, it was the first tangible hint that connected his hands to her image. Investigators already thought she had spent her last days with him. The wig, however, demonstrated possession rather than merely association. Additionally, possession can imply control in criminal circumstances. The chronology of Celeste's disappearance was dubious from the start. Her mother then acknowledged that she had a lover named David after she disappeared in April 2024. No one made the connection at the time. However, the public was abruptly aware that she had been missing for almost 17 months when her body was found in September 2025 inside David's seized Tesla. The Tesla itself has a tale to tell. Police reportedly towed the car after it had been left unattended for 5 days, close to David's house in the Hollywood Hills. There was a ticket issued. Workers at the impound lot discovered Celeste wrapped in plastic and severely deteriorated after neighbors complained about the stench. That breakdown is important. She had been dead for weeks, if not longer, according to this, which is why the sighting of the wig is significant. It might explain why, at a time when her body was already disintegrating, there were allegations that she was still alive into late August. The raid followed. The LAPD carried out a search warrant on a property in the Hollywood Hills connected to David's crew on September 18, 2025. Detectives looked for clothing, blood, and personal belongings that might prove Celeste had been there during her disappearance. According to TMZ claims, bags of confiscated evidence, including electronics and textiles, were taken with them. Reporters were informed by neighbors that the search took over 12 hours, during which time luminol was sprayed on the walls and floors. Investigators wanted to know how long she had been here and who else knew, not just if she was here. And there was one unsettling detail hidden in the reports. As proof, a bloody shirt was taken from the premises and recorded. Although the police did not reveal whose blood it was, the image became clearer when combined with the wig film. Possession, the wig said. Violence was implied by the garment. The internet didn't remain silent, despite David's deafening silence. Streams on Twitch evolved into arguments in the courtroom. One of David's closest associates, Jason Lean, was called in by Ludwig, who asked him if he had seen the accusations. Despite Jason's attempts to dismiss them as idle conjecture, Ludwig refused to accept it. He displayed the tattoo analogies. He displayed Celeste's disappearance timeline. Jason was unable to respond when the wig film was shown. The feed spread like wildfire once fans clipped it. Jason's defense was not the pivotal moment. He hesitated. That hesitancy appeared to many as guilt by association. The merchandise pull then took place, with the KSS alerting supporters about cancellations in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Tours after tour date had already been dropping like dominoes, but it extended beyond tickets. His official merch store abruptly went black. As fans noticed, vinyls, posters, and hoodies are gone. Insiders later revealed that suppliers were told to immediately cease sales. The tipping factor was the wig footage. A t-shirt featuring a man who is suspected of taking his deceased girlfriend's wig during a murder probe cannot be sold without appearing to be involved. It wasn't a moral issue for brands. It was a matter of survival, knowing that the reaction would ruin their reputations if they didn't. Crocs, Hollister, and other partners promptly cleaned his name. Additionally, Celeste's family was in mourning while businesses frantically worked. Although she always suspected her daughter's boyfriend, David was troublesome. Her mother told reporters she never thought it would turn up this way. The locals held vigils in Lake Elsinore, holding candles beneath banners that had pleaded for her safe return. Her funeral was held on October 4, 2025, and a GoFundMe was started to pay for it. The wig was not evidence to them. It was brutality. Evidence that Celeste's picture was altered and handled like property long after she passed away. This is where the psychology becomes murky. According to some sources, Celeste used phony identification documents, which made some of David's pals think she was older. According to the Times of India, his friends and family were startled to learn that she was just 14 when they first started dating, even though they had assumed she was 19. David wasn't merely obsessed if wigs and false identification were used in that fraud. He was working on giving her a personality, one that obscured her actual age, identity, and life. The wig was incorporated into that disguise, and as if to cling to the version of her he created, he kept it when she passed away. That's why the wig is so important. It's more than just fibers and fabric. It represents dominance, fixation, and erasure. Investigators believe it physically connects him to her. It gives his dark songs the appearance of confession in the eyes of his fans. Additionally, Her family views it as another manner that their daughter's life was taken from her. Is it not the case that David stole the wig? That's evident from the video. Why is the question? Was it the last element in a fantasy he had been building since Celeste was alive? A trophy? Or a cover-up? But David quickly noticed how it affected his job. His tour was the first domino. Access emailed fans who purchased tickets to his gigs in San Francisco and Los Angeles to inform them that the events had been canceled due to unanticipated circumstances. On YouTube, a fan read the cancellation notice out loud, their voice cracking as they realized the person they had defended online was not just missing a show but was actually disappearing from the stage. His US dates were removed off the Ticketmaster's lists that same weekend. After remaining active for a few days, Europe and Asia also slowly vanished. When the Grammy Museum, where he had been scheduled for a private presentation, removed his name from their event calendar, spot meant to establish him as a genuine artist, it was the last straw. Then there was a blackout of music. The label Intercope, which had made significant investments in his first album, Withered, abruptly stopped promoting it. Insiders said that the deluxe version had already begun production, but it was secretly withdrawn. The deluxe was removed from release plans. According to Billboard, radio stations that had previously played him frequently started switching him out in the middle of shows. Data from Spotify revealed an oddity. In less than a week, his artist site lost more than 500,000 monthly listeners. While plays about romantic homicide and Here With Me surged in morbid fascination, in an effort to communicate with him, fans were mass unfollowing him. In addition to watching less, and chaos broke out within the fandom. The largest David community on Reddit shut down. In a sticky thread, moderators declared that conspiracy content would no longer be permitted. However, moderators had to close the entire thread after the sub was bombarded with screenshots linking him to Celeste in less than 48 hours. Once devoted to editing his music videos, Stan's Instagram and Twitter accounts have been rebranded or completely removed. When Clicks, one of his most well-known partners on Fortnite, unfollowed him live on stream, it was a game changer. Shockwaves were sent by that maneuver. Defenders had no remaining footing, if even his inner circle of gamers were breaking off links. The arguments on Twitch, meantime, continued to stoke the flames. One of the most analyzed scenes in the entire story was Ludwig's conversation with Jason Lewin. Jason, who had previously collaborated with David on tracks, attempted to defend him by arguing that the accusations were unfounded. Have you seen the tattoo pictures? Have you seen the wig clip? Ludwig insisted, as Jason stammered, ducked, and finally fell silent. Words could hardly express such quiet. Accusations erupted in chat. Videos of Jason hesitating went viral as meme. Jason later attempted to walk it back on his own stream, saying he was merely stunned and not involved. He posted freeze frames of his face with phrases such, "When you realize your boy might actually be guilty." However, the harm had already been done. The fanbase had changed, and suspicion was also leveled at David's closest associates. Investigators continued to develop their case while he was being pulled by the internet. The Los Angeles Times was informed by LAPD sources that they thought Celeste had been residing in the Hollywood Hills apartment during the months before her passing. She may have resided there occasionally, according to evidence gathered from the raid, which included pictures showing her in beds that matched the interior of the property and video of her appearing in streams that altered the story. Celeste was not just found in his vehicle. He may have housed her for several months, and everyone who entered the house had to have seen her if she was residing there while missing, which begs the question of how many people were aware of her presence. It became more difficult to disregard the industry's silence. David's lease on the mansion, which was valued at about $20,000 per month, was broken within days after the raid, according to TMZ's source. He moved out right away following the search. According to the New York Post, the music executives who benefited from his success remained silent when he left the property, as if it were radioactive. A statement was not released by Intercope. The reason his numbers increased following the controversy was not addressed by streaming services. Companies like Hollister and Crocs discreetly removed him from their websites, but they wouldn't say why they hadn't done so sooner. It presented an unsettling image. The same companies that gave him a boost are now avoiding responsibility for making his platform possible. The family's sorrow, the industry's cover-up, and a system based on silence. At this point, the narrative moves from the demise of a single artist to a full-scale reckoning. Since what began as a wig in David's hands has grown into concerns about the music business as a whole, who could have known? Who turned away? Additionally, how many Celestes were there who were never in the news? First, let's talk about the law. Although David has not yet been charged by the LAPD, the matter is progressing. Within a day after authorities verified that Celeste's remains had been positively identified on September 17th, police raided his Hollywood Hills residence and seized evidence. Investigators think they have enough evidence to bring charges of illicit sexual behavior with a minor harboring a fugitive and possibly homicide, but forensic testing on the bloodied shirt and wig is still proceeding. Legal experts told media outlets that the date of Celeste's disappearance and the evidence of harboring might result in David serving a significant prison sentence even in the absence of a murder conviction. Detectives are looking into whether she was detained at his house in her last days. According to ABC7, this is more significant than a coincidence if it is confirmed. It turns into an abduction case. However, the sector is rushing to hide its footprints as police make their case. Intercope went dark. No public censure or announcement. Simply a quiet removal of David's name from their websites. His We Deluxe release was cancelled, according to Billboard, but no explanation was provided. Why his stream surged after Celeste's death became public has not been addressed by The Grammy Museum withdrew his showcase without providing an explanation. They simply deleted it as if it had never been there. Silence is complicity, not neutrality. Because these businesses enhanced David's reputation, in addition to promoting him, they made romantic homicide viral on TikTok. They capitalized on his somber style. Fans were persuaded by their portrayal of him as the wounded genius. In the meantime, a girl was absent. Fans were forced to face an uncomfortable aspect of parasocial loyalty as a result of the aftermath. David's gloomy lyrics were defended as art for years by his fans. Without understanding the significance of that date, they rejoiced in the coincidence that he committed romantic homicide on Celeste's birthday. They referred to his death preoccupation as sympathetic. However, those same followers were left wondering if they had been cheering a confession when the wig clip appeared. Communities fell apart. Private subreddits were created. Overnight, Stan's pages were erased. When people understood they weren't only supporting the music, the parasocial wall broke down. They may have made the stillness possible. The demonstrations in Lake Elsinore followed. Outside Municipal Hall, hundreds of people gathered to demand answers. They yelled Celeste's name, lighted candles, and displayed placards that said "Justice for Celeste." Over $24,000 in GoFundMe donations were used to pay for her burial on October 4th, however. The family stated that accountability, not money, was what they desired. At vigils, parents warned about the risks of grooming online. Teachers at Celeste's school criticized the system for allowing her to fall between the gaps, and students shared tearful TikToks of themselves wondering how a girl they used to sit next to become the news. However, David was not the target of the most incriminating question. For the sake of those around him, who was Celeste in the house in the Hollywood Hills? There was proof that she was staying there in her last days, according to the LA Times. This implies that she was seen by managers, associates, and possibly even label representatives who happened to wander by. Did they request identification? Did they wonder why a rising star was renting a $2,000 apartment from a teenager? Or were they distracted by the quality of the streams? The show makes too much money. David isn't the first, which is why some are referring to this as the industry's wake-up call, until bodies or lawsuits forced the reality. Teams, companies, and fans ignored rumors about Kelly, Ian Watkins, and other lesser-known figures who took advantage of their platforms. It is impossible to overlook the similarities. This case is memorable because of the wig. One picture of an artist holding the disguise of his deceased girlfriend. However, the underlying pattern is more extensive. A society where predators are protected by wealth and celebrity, where businesses remain silent until it costs them money, and where victims are only remembered after it's too late. And the cultural impact is enormous. Celeste edits overtook feeds on TikTok. For weeks her name was trending on Twitter. Once David-obsessed teenagers began creating films, alerting one another to warning signs of grooming. Her experience served as a warning to parents and schools. Celeste developed into more than just a victim. She came to represent the perilousness of a blurred artist-fan divide. In the meantime, creators such as Ecstasy and Ludwig inadvertently turned into investigators. The court of public opinion is their live response. Twitch offered more than just amusement. Millions of people watched as David's case was tried in real time on the stage. I appreciate you watching. To view more videos like this one, click on one of the boxes that is currently playing on your screen.